Good morning. Welcome to the May 1st podcast of Record Eraser. I'd like to welcome Tracy Fornwalt, and she invited us to the Morr Indoor Range and Training Center. This is Record Eraser's first site visit to a company as we expand our podcast to include local businesses to talk about how criminal records affect them and their clientele and their customers. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you for joining us here today and inviting us to Morr Range. Can you tell us about your range, your mission, and your team?
I can. Thank you again for coming. Appreciate having you here. So we are a family-owned business. We started our business in 2010 in a small retail store, and a little over 5 years ago moved to this location, dramatically expanded things, and opened up to a whole new audience. We have 2,800 square feet of retail space. We sell firearms and accessories and all the things that go with it. Today we're inside our range. You can see downrange here. We have 12 lanes. We have a small bay. This is 5 lanes. It's actually a tactically rated bay. At 15 yards, we can do classes and other things in here. And then right beside us, we have 7 lanes that are 25 yards. So rifles and all kinds of fun stuff can be had in that bay as well. So we're open 7 days a week. We also have a community room. We do training and events in there. We offer training particularly for new shooters is by far our largest training audience. We have a bunch of different options for training. We have classroom style, kind of the traditional, and then we have a big commitment to education and training. And so at any one time, about 80 or 90% of our team is instructor certified through the NRA, and we offer what we call private instruction. That's really where I think we can make the most difference. We work one-on-one with our students, and we can provide them really anything that they need. We can customize that hour to starting brand new, or if they're wanting to tighten their group or try a new firearm, any kind of thing like that. And so we're very committed to education and training. Thrilled to have you here today and talk a little bit more about something we might be able to offer our customers in terms of understanding the law. We are not firearms attorneys. We don't profess to be. We don't want to be. We want to help folks select stuff, but we want to provide resources for folks. We do believe that knowing the law and taking that responsibility seriously is important, and so that part of education and training is important to our customers as well. So thanks again for coming.
Excellent. So can you explain a little bit or talk about the problems that criminal records might cause to you, your customers, and your business as you move forward?
It's incredibly important. So for the gun purchase process, someone would come in, we would help them select the right firearm, and then they have to fill out a 4473. We do it electronically, but they have to do that paperwork and answer the questions truthfully. We run a background check. So if there is something in their past that is problematic, it gets brought up right then and there, and I'm of the opinion, and I'm guessing your recommendation would be the same, which is to know and understand before you have a problem and try and do some research and prevent it. And so we're excited to offer what you have as a resource to our customers as well if they do have any concerns or questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've had I don't know how many phone calls from guys that either had a crime so long ago or they went and served their country in the military, and now they're back and they want to continue their firearms training. And they go to the range and they fill out the 4473, and an old something or other is popping up, and how embarrassing it can be to actually have, the store just sort of say, well, that isn't going to work out for today. Maybe you should find out what's on your record and see what can be cleared and when, which is what we provide.
Yeah, and that happens, and it can happen for a variety of reasons, as you know. It can be legitimately that someone should not be able to purchase that firearm. It can be that there's something that they didn't realize was a problem, and so there's an education and training component. And mistakes are also made. There is a human check in the process generally, and so it could be that you have a like name, and somehow records got confused. And so there are absolutely folks that come into us who then go to appeal that process, get that reversed, come back and see us, and they're able to purchase the firearm. So a variety of things can happen along the way, some that are easier to fix than others, but we certainly want folks to be able to clean up their records if that's appropriate, or just clean up the data and the information if that's the solution.
Excellent. which is obviously what Record Eraser does. Now, you mentioned the 4473 form. Would somebody fill that out if they come here to shoot, or if they came here to purchase, or both?
It's for a purchase. You do not need to fill that out in order to use the range.
So if I came here and I had a disqualifying offense, but I didn't really know about it, as long as I came here, I would be able to shoot, but it would only be when I wanted to purchase a firearm, maybe that flag might come up and tell me there's something to clear.
Correct. We don't have the resources. It would be almost insurmountable to run a background check for everyone to use the range. It's just not practical. So in order to come and shoot at the range, we ask that you not be prohibited to shoot firearms. You do sign a waiver that acknowledges that, but it's really in the gun purchase process where that would come up.
Right. I've also heard similar stories from guys that go up to Cabela's or somewhere and they're trying to purchase, and I can't imagine the line of people or the volume of people going through, and all of a sudden, possibly in front of other people, they're like, "That's not going to work today. Check this out." So,
it is. It's. I'm sure it's both frustrating. It can be embarrassing. It can be all of those things. And people want answers from us. Unfortunately, we don't get any information. We get approved. Another status could be research, which means the state has up to 14 days to figure out whether it's appropriate or not. Again, sometimes that's just that record information you have a like name, or denied. But we get no information if someone is denied. All we can offer is for them to go through the appeal process.
Right. And by the way, just so you know how my process works, when somebody comes to me either as a referral or off the website or calling me from a YouTube video or something, the first thing we need to know is the first name, last name, date of birth. We get their email address and their phone number, and we'll research the public UJS portal in order to determine if we can find their public record. Frequently, that just lets me look exactly at what is sitting there and what is creating the problem. All of that's free. Or if somebody gets a Pennsylvania State Police record and sends it to me to review, that's free. If somebody does a challenge form and it comes back with a determination, that's all free. I just need to look at a record to determine whether or not you need a pardon or an expungement. And frankly, it's only misdemeanor and felony convictions that are going to create the problem, so it's never an expungement, I don't believe. The expungement follows the pardon in most of the cases we're talking about. But maybe I can leave some flyers or brochures or review things with you, and I just wanted you to know that anybody you send to me or to the website is going to be researched for free and find out what the problem is and then decide what they want to do.
That's fantastic. A lot of times, as you say, the challenge form can feel intimidating and frustrating, and so it's great to know that our customers have another resource to go through that process if they need it.
I also did a short follow-up about firearms prohibitions and what they are that people are going to be able to find after this video. So I'm interested in bringing my old Walther PPK that's been in a box for the past couple of years, and I'm interested in bringing that and starting the process of legitimate discipline, training, and getting experience with a firearm. So where should I start when I come to Morr?
You have, again, multiple options from a training perspective. If something's been in a box for 20 years, we probably want to make sure that it's functioning properly and that it's clean. And so we have cleaning classes that would allow you to come in, get to know the firearm, make sure it is clean and operable. We have an armorer, James, who leads those, who can help make sure, first of all, that things are functioning properly. To that end, I should also note, please, anytime you bring a firearm, bring it cased and unloaded. We want to make sure that safety is our #1 priority here. And so when a firearm is cased and unloaded, then we can handle it properly in a safe manner. So then, once you know that you're in good shape, then training options are pretty extensive. As I mentioned, we have a first shots class. That's typically for someone who's never shot before and doesn't own a firearm. You're brand new, and you really want to start at the very basics. But we have classes past that. So we call it Handgun 1. It's simply the next one that you would take. You own a firearm, and now you want to understand those safety fundamentals, understand the fundamentals of shooting, getting a good grip, a good stance, good trigger press, all of those things. And that would have some classroom piece as well as allow you to come to the range and shoot your own firearm. We also have a variety of rentals. We have, I think, 75 at last count. So you could use one of ours, particularly if you're thinking about narrowing down a purchase. And then I mentioned that private instruction. That's the one for me that always has the biggest impact, because we're one-on-one with you, or one-on-two. If you and your wife or you and your daughter want to come in for that private instruction, 2 people is definitely very manageable for us. If you get to 3 and more, we sometimes need more instructors, but that really allows us to personalize and customize the pace and the content of that instruction to whatever your needs are. We can start at the beginning, we can move you through. The other nice thing about that we found, particularly with couples, is we're not only instructors but marriage counselors and all those things, and you're hearing all of the same content, so you get the same terminology, you see the same examples, and it really kind of sets things off in terms of a great experience, to have a safe experience, but also to have some fun.
It just sounds like a wide range of availability and training from the beginning when you walk in the door to where do you want it to go.
Absolutely. Over 5 years, we've worked hard to try and build up our knowledge and skills to make sure that we can provide you with whatever you need based on your current situation. We still have a lot of classes we can offer. We're working on building out content this summer. We would love to have more content for kids and for adults of all ages. The really cool thing is, about our industry, is literally just about anyone can participate. So we require you be at least 10 years of age to use the range. Obviously, a 10-year-old would need a parent or guardian with them, but we're working on some classes for this summer for younger kids as well. There are age-appropriate conversations you can have around firearms, and frankly, that you should from a safety perspective in this day and age. But I think the youngest person we had participate in our First Shots class, she had turned 10 about 3 days before, and the oldest came in on his 86th birthday. He lives over here in Willow Valley, and he still comes in and shoots. And so literally any age. And we also pride ourselves, we have some folks who are hearing impaired and other things that we're able to work, again, in that private instruction one-on-one with folks and really get you what you need for your particular circumstances.
Right. That sounds great. I have an 8-year-old grandson that's got to wait a couple of years, but frankly, that's new knowledge to me, because in my head, I would have just thought somebody can't shoot until they're 18, but that's other things.
Yeah, certainly hunting in this area is a big part of why fathers get their sons and their daughters involved, and now we're seeing, again, a wide variety of folks that want to come in and are interested in hunting, and certainly that starts, we have a hunter safety course coming up in 2 weeks with the PA Game Commission, and so there's lots of reasons why folks want to participate in our industry, and we've had some 10-year-olds in here who are way more mature than some of the 20-year-olds, as you can imagine. So it really is, I think it's a parent's decision on when a child is ready, but I do think that there's age-appropriate information at any age.
Well, and that's also interesting also because you have the trainers, and so, the needs of a 10-year-old learning to shoot his first handgun, maybe to go hunting with dad, and all of the hunter needs is sort of one sort of aspect of things, but then another aspect is you have a returning veteran and he's a professional, and even local law enforcement officers and first responders and such not want to use the range, and they want to increase their training and maximize their proficiency, and you cover all that.
We do, and we have folks on the team from all those walks of life as well. So I had nothing to do with the firearms industry before joining the business. So I have that perspective of a new shooter. We have folks, some of our key range safety officers and instructors have been in the military. We have folks who are retired law enforcement. So we have that full gamut. We have, at any point in time, somewhere between 25 and 30 folks on the team. So we really have a nice cross-section, and again, we can kind of customize to any particular needs.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Can you tell me a little bit, so you mentioned bringing it separate, but I have a bag with a gun and bullets. This is my first time here. How do I pack that and transport it to walk in the door in an appropriate manner?
So every state has different regulations, as you know. You want to make sure that you're doing that research. We partner with folks like you and organizations like U.S. Law Shield to hold legal seminars here. Generally, you want to keep them separate. It somewhat depends on your vehicle. If you have a truck versus a car, you have a trunk or not,
right.
You need to have those considerations. But we have a variety of options of range bags and things where you can secure that firearm in a pouch, unloaded. You can put your ammunition in your range bag. You can bring all that stuff in. The biggest thing we ask from a safety perspective, again, is to keep it contained within those until you come out to the range. Then there you would uncase it. That's the safest way to go.
Right. And I think also, so if I bring an unloaded handgun that I drive in the front part of the car with me to get here, and if the ammo is in the trunk separately secured, that would be okay.
I'm not going to offer any legal advice, as you know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to answer that particular question. What I will tell you is if you are interested in firearms, you should pursue a concealed carry permit.
Yeah.
That gives you a lot of extra benefits in terms of transportation in particular.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of folks that have a concealed carry permit, and they do come to the store with their firearm on their person concealed. And so you would want to understand the laws and regulations related to that.
Right.
If you do come in with a firearm concealed and you want to use the range, that's great. We would ask that you keep it concealed until you come to the range. We would set you up in our booth, in our stall. There you would actually unholster, keep that gun pointed in a safe direction downrange, and we have ways that you can work with the range safety officer to draw that firearm out and make sure that you and everyone around you is safe.
Well, I had a carry permit that I let lapse a couple of years ago, so it sounds like one of the easiest things to do is go renew that.
Absolutely. I believe they are good for 5 years. For Lancaster County, you would go to the courthouse here on Duke Street. It is a pretty simple process. You do have to pass a background check to do that as well, but we're always going to recommend that you research and pursue that option. It does give you those extra benefits, particularly when you're traveling with a firearm.
Excellent. I'm learning a lot here today. I guess that ran through the list of stuff that I wanted to cover. Do you have any closing thoughts or comments?
Just that we would welcome folks to come in. We do believe that we offer great level of service. We strive for that every day. We also have a high level of safety commitment. We are constantly looking for ways to improve that, and we feel like we're welcoming to a broad audience. Anyone can come in and check us out. We would love to try and help you find a firearm and the accessories that you need and help you with your training and with your practice to not only be safe but to have fun with firearms.
Well, my daughter was talking to me about this. She's 25, but we were talking about this just the other day, and she knew I was coming here, and I think you'll see us both this month.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy.
Appreciate your time.
I'd like to thank Tracy and Morr Range for inviting Record Eraser over in order to talk about the various challenges that criminal records give to different businesses and their clientele. So thanks again, and hats off to Morr Range. So I'd like to go into a short section about restoring your right to possess a firearm in Pennsylvania. There are complex federal prohibitions that come as the result of a conviction, and there are Pennsylvania prohibitions that come as a result of various criminal convictions. And actually the federal firearm statute is a little more restrictive. Anyone who has been convicted of a felony, a misdemeanor punishable by more than 2 years in jail, or a domestic violence misdemeanor is prohibited from purchasing or possessing a firearm. So, as you remember, grading of offenses in Pennsylvania goes from low misdemeanor 3 to misdemeanor 2, misdemeanor 1, felonies 3, 2, and 1, felony 1 being the highest. Basically, the federal prohibition says anything punishable by more than 2 years in prison makes you ineligible. That means that any crime that is an M1 or higher, you're prohibited federally. So that's that. Jumping sideways into the Pennsylvania statute, 18 Purdon 6105.1 and 6106 in the Crimes Code, just to geek out a little bit, lists a variety of offenses and who shall not possess, which is also sort of overlapped with who has the right to carry. And the fact of the matter is there's a whole list of offenses, but any assault crimes, any drug offenses, possession of marijuana, certainly possession with intent to deliver marijuana, any felonies as well, as well as any simple assaults. Pennsylvania has a section of simple assault that they mark as DV, meaning it's a domestic violence related case, and that's meant to trigger the prohibition. So anything that's an M1 or higher is guaranteed to prohibit you from possessing or purchasing a firearm. And other than that, the devil's in the details, because there's also prohibitions if you have more than 3 or 4 misdemeanors, no matter what the grading, etc. So that's why, just to circle back, the beginning of the path at Record Eraser always starts with filling out a form with your first name, last name, date of birth, email address, and phone number, so that we can actually look up your record on the UJS portal. Once we see that record, we can analyze it to see what can be cleared and when, either with expungements or pardons, okay? That's what we do, and there's no fee for any of that until we know what fee we're quoting you, what service we're quoting you a fee for. So we also know that since it's misdemeanor and felony convictions that prohibit someone from purchasing or possessing a firearm, we know that a pardon is going to be needed, because a pardon is the only thing that can remove a misdemeanor or felony conviction in Pennsylvania, beginning with the filing of a pardon application, the tracking it for the next year or two while the Governor's Board of Pardons reviews it, votes on it, and if you get the votes you need, it goes to the governor, and the governor, if he issues a pardon, then you need expungements on those, which is a separate service. And then once your case has been pardoned and expunged, all of your firearm prohibitions are removed. If the record we're looking at, if the Pennsylvania record is the only thing prohibiting you, then all your rights come back. If you have convictions in other states or other places or something, this information only applies to those with a Pennsylvania record. Now I want to cover a brief update about the Board of Pardons and what they've been up to lately. They've been very busy. Some of this has been covered before, but I don't mind repeating it. They've hired new staff people, and they are getting ready to digitize their process, and they are getting to review more cases more frequently. Just for an idea of numbers, there were 430 pardon applications filed in 2017, okay, 5 years ago. In 2022, there were 1,980 pardon applications filed, so basically 4 times as many. I think that pace is going to continue to accelerate, and with a 1 to 2 to 3 year review process, there's no way to speed that up. While the board's getting more efficient, there's also more people filing. And so if enough time has passed that you think you're a good candidate, or if we sit down and talk and you think you're a good candidate, then we want to get it filed sooner than later. We know that last year, we know that in the past 8 years, Governor Wolf issued over 2,000 pardons, which is the most that has ever been issued. And we also know that by the time the Board of Pardons is reviewing a pardon application for a merit review, we know that a very high percentage of those are being recommended, over 90%. They've been evaluated, they've been analyzed, they've been investigated, and by the time they get to a merit review, easily over 3/4 or 90% of them are being sent to the governor. Now, I don't have a statistic about how many the governor is signing once it's sent to him, but anyway, I'll keep you updated about that. So, just in summary, Pennsylvania is leading the nation, not only in expediting, in digitizing and making the pardon process more efficient. They also do have the expediting process, which is nothing we need to do differently. It's just if it's a marijuana misdemeanor or various other cases that I won't get into, they review it in as little as a year instead of the usual 2-year process. So all of their processes are changing, they're streamlining, and they're meant to get people more employable, educable, and houseable by removing these records. Pennsylvania is leading the nation. They're also trying to pass legislation to expand the scope of clean slate, and I won't even get into clean slate right now. That's for a different segment. But this is the right time and the right place for people to have their records reviewed to see if they shouldn't file for a pardon in Pennsylvania in 2023. It's the right place to be. Now I want to cover some of the upcoming topics that we're going to put on a production list to do short videos about. These are topics that are raised by questions I've received from people that seem to be the main areas of concern, and we're going to address them, not all today, but it's a list of upcoming topics. The challenges of removing a criminal record, understanding the impact of criminal records. Now, those with criminal records know the impacts in their hearts, and they know it in their wallets. So this is more to sort of explain to the uneducated all the financial disabilities that happen as a result of having your earning curve tanked by a criminal record and the different areas that it affects. We're going to do a segment on understanding the UJS portal, which is also going to include how to research it, how to go to the public website, research your own record, and we'll cover a little bit about various dispositions and how to read a record. We'll do another section about the procedure for obtaining a marijuana pardon, which just involves filling out a pardon application and checking a box that says expedited, which means if the Board of Pardons agrees with your determination, it gets reviewed in as little as a year in a quicker, more seamless process. But it's really just a determination ahead of time or whether your offense qualifies to request the expedited process or not. We're also going to cover common misconceptions about criminal record clearing in Pennsylvania, which will be sort of like the various myths that people have, confusing credit scores with criminal records, and don't things disappear after so many years, etc. I've been asked to do a section about mistakes to avoid when applying for an expungement in Pennsylvania. Remember that expungements are different than pardons. The expungement is a petition that's filed in the Court of Common Pleas in the county where the conviction was. It's a whole separate set of practices and procedures and filing fees, so we'll cover that as well. A section on the importance of expunging your juvenile record in Pennsylvania. One of the common myths is that as soon as you become an adult, your juvenile record is sealed or erased or disappeared. Doesn't go for felonies. If you're over a certain age and you commit a felony, that felony juvenile adjudication is going to show up on your Pennsylvania State Police criminal history, and they're going to share it with the FBI, and you're going to be looking at it in the course of a job interview. And we also will do a section on understanding the criteria for a pardon in Pennsylvania, and some of the same criteria that we send out to people that we find a record for. We send it with an overview of the pardon process and explain what this 2-year review process is like. But we'll do a video segment about that as well, so that you understand what the heck goes on from the moment you become a client of PA Pardon Services until it's filed, until it's investigated, and until you have the merit review and then the public presentation. And we'll time all that out for you also. These are the topics that we have coming up in the future. If you don't want to miss them, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And there's also some kind of bell you can push a button or something. Anyway, the crew knows about that. But don't miss the topics. I'm trying to cover everything I can. Thank you.